I can definitely smell the coolant burn. It is smelling like sweet cookies. And yeah, the coolant's low, but there's no puddle. Where's it going? Well, that's one of the top problems on this 4th generation E-350 van. And I got some to talk about, and we sell all the parts for you at 1A Auto. Let's get into it. That leads us to number 1 on these 4th generation E-350 vans, and that is a misfire code. PO300 all the way up to 301 to 308. And the first thing you want to do is spark plugs, but don't forget those coil boots. Don't do the spark plugs without them, because you'll be doing that job twice, and you don't want to do that. Do that, clear the code, and take it for a run. Hopefully it doesn't need coils. You can tell by doing a quick visual. Look at that coil. If you see greenness on that electrode, get yourself a coil too. You don't have to do all 8 at the same time. It's not like that kind of engine. You can get away with 1 at a time, but not on those boots. Number 2 is this rattling sound. You hear that? Yeah, you probably hear that, especially in a rear-wheel drive Ford going down the road. It sounds really loud. And what it is, Ford says, is ball joints or the control arm bushings that go back here. And if they're back here, it's due to just being rot, weather. But those ball joints, Ford says, breaks down because they're a sealed unit, and if that boot gets a tear, water gets in there, it wreaks havoc, and it just takes all the grease out, and eventually it just has free play, and it rattles up and down on that 2-wheel drive suspension. Number 3 on this 4th generation E350 is heater cores. Now, I said cores, 2 of them. Because it's a passenger van, we have a heater core up front, and we have one way out back. And there's aluminum lines that go from the engine compartment all the way back there. And what they have is they're constantly leaking. Even if they've been replaced, they leak again and again. So Ford recommends checking for electrolysis, and that means voltage in your coolant. I know it sounds strange, but it's easy to test. Disconnect that battery, take a voltmeter, and go into that coolant and see if you have any voltage. So you got to flush it out and change those parts. Put fresh coolant in, and then Ford strongly recommends adding any ground straps. So from the engine to the body chassis, add an extra 2 or 3, it won't hurt. But it takes the power voltage, like electrolysis, out of the coolant. Whew! This leads me to number 4. If you start your van up and the engine light comes on, or if it's been on before you shut it off, you pull the code PO130. Well, that's the heater circuit unit for the O2 sensors. What you want to do is check that harness first. If you see no damage, check for exhaust leaks. No leaks, check for oil. If there's oil soakage all over your exhaust and coated those O2 sensors, you got to fix that oil leak before you replace those O2 sensors, because you're just going to have to do it all over again. Nothing's gone bad other than the code. Change those O2 sensors and you're ready to go down the road. All right, so that leads us to number 5. I saved the best for last because I talked about it in the beginning, that coolant smell, but no trail on the ground or no leakage on the ground. I like this one a lot only because I've done a lot of them, because as a technician, it's kind of one of those fun jobs that we do. Ford has a intake that sits above the engine, and it has a coolant tube that runs from the water pump, from the back of the water pump, out through the back of the intake area. It's like a valley. That's what we call it, a valley. Picture a frying pan with coolant in it. And that's why you don't see any leaks on the ground, because that seal on that tube leaks and it just slowly seeps into that valley of that engine and it boils, just like you're cooking it on the stove. You can smell it, but you can't see it. Before it evaporates, before it hits the ground, it actually evaporates. And that's why you don't see puddles of it. But a good way to check is you take your air box out, 8mm, that's all you need, 8mm socket, take that air box out, lift it up, look right down here, look behind your alternator, right on the intake, you can see very clearly with a flashlight, you'll see a coolant tub like this of coolant. And that means that tube seal's gone. So you're gonna have to take that intake off, which, by the way, has an update on it, straight from Ford, and we carry it. Go ahead and check us out, watch one of our videos on how to do that job. I recommend tackling it because it's one of my favorites. It's a lot of fun.